Now, on the second part of your question, which was, I'm sorry.
It was, should one region focus more on affordable housing?
Yes. Yes, in a nutshell. Why? Because large displacements of the population don't make any sense. They just don't make any sense. They're incredibly expensive. We've gone out and we've spent $9 billion on school construction in recent years. You tell me this, if I now go and build a whole new set of housing in another place, how the hell am I going to jack up that school and move it? And we've done it again and again, and the governor's put another $4 billion into it. So I think the idea of trying to displace population is dumb. Secondly, as I said, New Jersey has infrastructure that's already axially aligned so that it exists in certain places. You have, in the Oranges, for example, good access, and especially in Newark, you have excellent access to public infrastructure. There's good rail service, good transit. Those things are important, especially to people of lesser means. They can actually get to jobs that way. Yeah, I think it's utterly inappropriate to have northern Sussex County out in the middle of nowhere, frankly, having the same housing burden as in Newark. It makes all the sense in the world to rehabilitate and to fix up housing and to build new housing in the right place where it's efficient and required by the society. And I might add, by the way, that we need a new urban policy in New Jersey that makes sense. And that would be an urban policy that recognizes that cities are organic entities. They increase and they decrease according to their economic activity and according to their utility to society. Part of the problem is that New Jersey on its cities has been in denial for the last 40 years. We've said Newark's boundaries and Newark's government are going to be exactly the same as it was when Newark was an industrial giant. Sorry, folks, the industry's left. It's gone. And I can tell you, as someone who's involved in industry, it's not coming back. What we can do is find a new life, a new economic purpose for places like Newark. And that's based on the fact that it has, as they say in real estate, location, location, location. And New Jersey has a good workforce. But we have, above all, outstanding location and, frankly, pretty good infrastructure. And if we just let ourselves get away from the politics and get into the economics of the situation, we can come up with solutions that make sense. But you can't do it as long as you're trying to be governed by political correctness. And by the way, one other advantage I have as a candidate for governor, I ain't looking to go no higher. Mrs. Merkt just told me, this is it.
We take another question from Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Since we actually have the privilege of having a Republican and Democratic candidate in the room, I'd like to ask this question towards both of you.
It's scary how much we agree on.
What I'd like to know, and I'd like both of you to comment on it if possible, is where in the Constitution does it authorize the government to put the taxpayers on the hook to bail out these private institutions, banks, car companies, etc.? I have follow-ups for each response you may have to.
Want me to go first?
It's your show. I don't like putting it on you, but I'm happy to do it either way.
Sure. Well, why don't I do it first and then let you have a shot? Last time I checked, nowhere. Nowhere. And part of this is, again, constitutions are written contracts. They're not living, breathing documents. I'm sorry. It's not true. They're written and they have a provision that says this is how we change it. Our federal constitution, which is the one you're talking about, was written to limit powers, to give enumerated powers. The Founding Fathers, in their wisdom, did not trust a central government. Amazing. 230 years later, we haven't learned the lesson. We've given far too much power to our central government. There is a substantial pool of thought that, by the way, says that the New Deal did not end the Depression, and I think that's actually a pretty good, that's documented, I think. This World War II ended the Depression. The idea that federal intervention is going to solve all of our problems, I think, is absolute nonsense. It is not constitutionally sanctioned. And, again, I'm only going to live another 20 or 25 years, God willing. You guys are going to be around here a lot longer. It's your job to stand up and defend your freedom, and that is your right. And it's always amazing to me that people who are totally distrustful, with good reason, of big business, or totally distrustful of big labor, they hate big tobacco, They despise big oil. But these same people can't wait to embrace big government. Folks, the enemy is not labor or oil or business or tobacco or even government. The enemy is bigness, because that's what produces the bureaucratic mentality. It produces the non-responsive stuff. And when I say government that's closest to the people is best for the people, it's simple. When I go down and I want to see Mayor Bryan, I go down to my town hall and I sit about 6 inches from his nose and I say, "You're screwing up." Try doing that with a bureaucrat who's on the 11th floor in a building you can't even get into 60 miles away in Trenton.
Well, first of all, I have to agree with every single thing that Rick just said. So, I mean, it's very hard for me to disagree with that. I mean, Rick said an interesting thing. He's running as a Republican, but he said he's really a constitutionalist. And the reason that is in New Jersey is that we have two organizations, I won't call them racketeering organizations, but they kind of are, that control the state of New Jersey. They are the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the only way you can run for governor, unless you want to run as an independent and just get slaughtered, is you must participate in that system. I'm participating as a Democrat. I don't really consider myself a traditional Democrat. Just as Rick said, he's a constitutionalist. I'm a constitutionalist as well. But he's absolutely right when he talks about local control, and that's why New Jersey has failed over the last few years. There was a time when New Jersey was the most successful state in the Union, and it was because we had bottom-up government. Your government was locally based. Your mayor was really the only public official, and your council were the only public officials who had any day-to-day say as to what happened with your tax money. The state got very little tax money. And as we've gotten away from that and towards bigger government, the problem is I have a shot at talking to my mayor, even if I wasn't a former mayor myself. I have a shot at calling up Peter Hughes, my mayor of Glen Ridge, and saying, "Peter, you guys are way off base on this." I have no shot of calling up the governor or an assembly person, but who does have a shot? The people who have lots and lots of money and who make lots and lots of campaign contributions. And that's what's driving what you're talking about here. What you're talking about is those people want that money, and they can take it, and there's not a lot that you or I or Rick can do about it. So there is nothing in the state constitution that allows that, and I would not permit it as governor, and I'm sure Rick would not permit it as governor. On a federal level, you have this whole interstate commerce clause, what I would say is nonsense, but which the United States Supreme Court has used as an excuse to get more and more involved in the day-to-day business of our country, and to our detriment, and frankly, to the bankruptcy of this country and the state. We need bottom-up government. We need government that's locally driven, and that's what, the farther away we get from that, the less successful we're going to be. So there's nothing in the Constitution. So Rick and I agree.